Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Rose.
And I'm Jessica Bunbun.
Welcome to our new The Handmaid's Tale theory discussion. And this is a big one. We are going really big picture here in this video because we're going to dive fully into the question of how does June's story end? Now, we have a lot to say about this, but we're going to put a big old disclaimer right here at the start. We have not read the books. We have not read the testaments. Please, if you have, do not spoil anything in the comments. Let us all have fun talking about this idea because through the lens of the story the show has given us, there are so many different ways this could go.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest. I mean, there's a lot of shows that are adapted from other properties, video games, books, whatever,
Yeah.
and they have changed them. So while something may be happening in the books, it may not be the decision that the masterminds behind Handmaid's Tale decide. They may decide to do something else with June. So everything is still on the table when it comes to what is June's fate? Like, how is her story going to end? Is she going to end up dead? Is she going to end up rescuing Hannah? Is there going to be something else that happens? How?
I think this is a really good time to dive into a lot of this as well because we are leading into the big potential red wedding episode here in episode 8, and it feels like this is where a lot of stuff's going to hit the fan. The world of the show could end up changing, but at the same time, this episode is not the end of the story. Like, there is something more after the fact. So I'm presuming that June survives at least for a little while longer if she does survive. I think she's going to be there until the very end of the finale.
Yes, I think so as well. It feels like, her big mission really is rescuing her daughter. So a lot of it for me is going to be sort of hinging on that. If she's able to rescue her daughter and her daughter leaves, then that's the end of the story. If she's not able to rescue her, June will never stop trying to rescue her. So June would then maybe have to die, or she'd have to be okay with Hannah staying there. There are a lot of options, but a lot of them sort of hinge on what happens with Hannah, because that's going to decide what happens to June.
Okay, well, before we go into any of this further, be sure to hit that subscribe button because, yeah, we are going to be here to break down the rest of The Handmaid's Tale, have more reviews, previews, theories, all sorts of great stuff. And also, we're covering The Last of Us right now. We're like right in the middle of the second season of that. And this week, Poker Face has officially premiered. It's a really great, fun whodunit show starring Natasha Lyonne. There's a lot of amazing guest stars in there as well. So we highly suggest you take a look at that coverage also.
And we're going to be covering Dexter Resurrection here, so hit that subscribe button. It really helps us here at the channel if you do. And also, if you want to check out our coverage for Murderbot, which is coming up on Apple TV, and Criminal Minds Evolution Season 3, which has already started, we have those reviews exclusively over on our Patreon. It is the only place that you can get them, so we'll have a link for you below if you do want to check those out.
Thank you guys so much for your support. Like, we really do appreciate that. Yeah. Okay, well, let's just start this through the lens of hope because leading up to this season, a lot of people, Elizabeth Moss included, were out there doing interviews, and this is not a spoiler or anything else, but it felt like they were really trying to push this narrative that we know you guys have suffered a lot. We know it took forever for this season to air for a wide array of reasons, but trust us, it's going to be worth it. Like, you're going to be having some element of happiness. So all of this sort of suggests that, okay, maybe June's story is going to end in a hopeful way, but what does that mean? Like, I don't actually think that's as black and white a question as it would seem on the surface.
Black and white and red. No, but it could be that she rescues Hannah and they go off and, live this life together of happiness. I mean, that would be a very happy, hopeful, proper end to the show where it's like June has gotten what she needed. She is reunited with both of her children, which is what means the world to her. And that would be a really satisfying ending. But I mean, this is June's daughter, right?
Yeah.
So is it possible that she has that same sort of rebellious spirit, wants to help, that maybe June rescues her, but then together the two of them find a way to continue to do work to rescue everybody, to get all the other children out of there, to get all the other handmaids out of there?
I think there is a lot to think about when it comes to just the idea of June becoming somebody who's going to be willing to just go off to Alaska and live like a normal, peaceful, quiet life. It's just, to me, I can't picture her doing that
No,
without Hannah. Like, there's just no
no.
way, because it's the thing that she's fought for all of this time. So it's just, it would be really, really baffling for the show to suddenly pivot on that and be like, okay, now she's okay with it. It's like, well, why would she then be okay with it? Like, it's more realistic that she's gonna kind of stay around and potentially try to fight with Hannah. I know that they've had some very, very limited communication over the seasons, and it hasn't always gone great for June, but who knows what the future's gonna hold? Who knows what's happened in that amount of time since we last saw her?
Yeah, we also don't know what conversations Hannah is having because we don't really get to see her very
No.
much on the show. So we know that there are people who are part of the resistance that are in Gilead, like Aunt Janet, not a robot, that we have met up with recently who
Yeah.
is helping Mayday, right? Maybe there are people that have been watching over the kids that have been having these conversations with Hannah, or Hannah has been overhearing some conversations, maybe hearing about, the great and powerful June and everything that's been happening with Mayday and whatever. And it's something that's just inside her because she is June's kid that she wants to fight back. And so by the time June gets to her, Hannah's like, yeah, so this is what I've decided. This is what I want to do. Oh, okay, well, we'll figure that out.
Here's another tinfoil hat idea. I don't know how I feel about it, but it's something that I've at least entertained, and that's this idea of June continues to fight and fight and fight, eventually reunites with Hannah, but then Hannah basically says to June, and sort of similar to what we said about Janine in a recent video, June, your watch has ended. It's time for you to just go off, be at peace. I'm going to take up the mantle from now on. It's too, or even just something where Hannah believes that she is more capable of doing something at this point, and not because June is incapable, but because June has also become so famous that it's really, really hard
Mhm.
for her to be directly involved or face of the operation at this point, because it's just going to lead to too many divided emotions, or too many people are going to see something like that coming, where if she wants to be involved moving forward, she can do it from afar, and she can sort of, to continue a Game of Thrones metaphor here, she could be more of a Littlefinger or a Varys, or somebody who's just kind of like pulling strings from a distance.
Yeah, June is Gilead's most wanted.
Yeah.
There's sort of been the issue that I've been having with this season of people being able to see her face and see who she is and
Yeah.
not recognize or be like, oh my God, it's June. We need
Yeah.
to do something about this sort of thing, that it's just kind of getting passed through.
Yeah.
She is Gilead's most wanted. After that plane incident, I feel like everybody would know who she is, and that if you see her, she's done, sort of thing. So I could see it going that way, that June gets to Hannah. Hannah has already decided that she's going to be picking up the mantle, and is just like, you're too famous for this at this point,
Yeah.
and you're not even here. And the way to bring down here is to be part of here. Like, Mayday, you guys are doing what you can, sure. Red Wedding, Gilead Red Wedding, we don't know what's going to happen there, but let's say everybody does get poisoned by the cake.
Yeah.
That's only a small portion of what is going on in Gilead, and that Hannah might feel like, to take down Gilead, you have to do it from the inside, and June can never be on the inside again, so give her the chance. And maybe June will be like, okay, I'll be helping from the outside. Anytime you need anything, you contact us, we find a way to provide it.
I think June could be the spark that sort of ignites everything else that happens from here on out. Because, yeah, you just spelled it out. Like the Serena Red Wedding situation here, it could be big, it could be seismic, it could change a lot, but that alone is not going to take down Gilead for good. It's just like, you're going
No.
to have a lot of different incidents that transpire, and how many of those could June end up being a part of. And I think, big picture, something that I'm at least very stuck on is this idea that if June is just sticking around and is just there forever, why are you calling the Testaments? Why isn't it just not The Handmaid's Tale season 7?
I
At this
know.
point, it feels like that is going to be a connected story, but also a different story. And The Handmaid's Tale in itself is June's story. And so the idea of her basically being told, you have to go away now, and we can take on the mantle directly, you can still help from afar.
Mhm.
Like, that would make sense to give her story closure while at the same time leaving the door open for something else to be explored.
Yeah, it has to be really convincing if
Yes.
June is going to get to Hannah and Hannah is going to stay. Because there's also the possibility that Hannah's just completely down the hole with Gilead because that is
Mhm.
all she has really known because she got taken so young that she's just grown up in this, that she's just kind of like, I don't really know who you are, what you're about. This is the life that I know and what I've been brought up to believe. And I actually believe it. So while you might want to take me out of here, you're basically a stranger to me, which is the most heartbreaking of them.
It it is, and we'll just stay on heartbreak for a moment here because the most likely scenario here for the end of June's story is that June is going to die. And that doesn't mean that she has to die the most terrible, depressing death of all time. Like, I could see a scenario at the end of The Handmaid's Tale where June dies and that death facilitates hundreds of women being free or a
Yes.
number of commanders being taken down. Like, I think there is something to be said for the idea of a heroic death, of something that's really, really satisfying and something that June herself would want. I think she would gladly give her life if she knew that it meant that a lot of other people could be free, that, maybe Luke is able to go back to Alaska and help with Holly, and that they can raise Nicole, and that Hannah might be free. It's just like there are a lot of ways in which I think June would be okay with that as an ending.
I just feel for me, it would be a much more heartbreaking ending to see Hannah basically be like, I don't know you. You're not my mom. I'm going to be staying here. Like, that would just break me apart to see that. And I think that would break June in ways that she would not be able to recover from. And I
Yeah.
could see her then leaving being just broken if she's like, I did all this to save my daughter. My daughter doesn't even care who I am. She doesn't want to be with me. She doesn't want to even come with me. She doesn't have any connection with me. This is what Gilead did for her to go back and just be a broken person and give up. Like, that's just the worst case scenario. For me, June dying as a hero and sort of becoming this hero of Gilead, where, everybody else in Gilead, that's like the handmaids or the Marthas, see her as this hero of Gilead that has come in and made change and has been able to take out, some big players, something like that, that gives them the chance to be able to pick up the mantle. And then that might be then where it changes for Hannah, where she's like, oh my goodness, and that was my mom, and then she'll pick up the mantle.
I'm going to say something here that sounds like the end of a Disney movie, but if you die a hero, you then become a legend. And I think that it's a situation here where if June does die in this heroic way, it does blow her story up in this outsized manner that
Yes.
maybe people hear about it in a way that they didn't hear about it previously. And maybe Hannah has grown up in Gilead and, sort of like you were saying, learned to sort of not be fully involved in everything that's going on there, but just doesn't know any other way of life. But that,
Right.
like, this is a way for June's story to really reach her and sort of awaken her in a way in which it might not happen otherwise. Like, could you make an argument that's like, okay, maybe June, and this is maybe too tinfoil crazy, but maybe June finds a way to fake her own death, and then, like, the word spreads of her as a legend that way, and she can still do stuff from afar. It's like, okay, yeah, that's possible, but that's also kind of complicated. I don't know how messy they want the end of The Handmaid's Tale to be.
Yeah, because the other sort of very depressing ending could
Yeah.
be that June finally just gets caught and she ends up just going up on the wall. And that has been a long time possibly coming for everyone at Gilead, all the commanders that have just wanted to catch her and put her up on the wall. But that then she becomes a legend because of that. That, Hannah sees her mom up on the wall and it changes everything, where she's like, revenge, like,
Yeah.
my favorite stories.
There is a case to be made that she could go on the wall and still the ending could be hopeful. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but it
Yes.
is a situation here where, depending on what June does to get there, or even what June does right before her death, like, there's still a chance that it could fundamentally change everything. Like
Yeah.
the only thing that I'm going to say with confidence is that I either want June or Luke, one of them, to make it to Alaska so that they can be there for Nicole. And I know Nicole has Holly, but
Yep.
it's sort of at the same time. I think June and Luke in particular have just gone through so unbelievably much over time that I want one of them to get a certain element of peace. And I think for a
Yeah.
guy like Luke, I think there actually is a lot he could do there to still help, because we have seen him try to do everything that he can to help people from afar before. This is not a concept that's foreign to him.
That's the big X factor of all of these scenarios that we've brought up with June when it's June and Hannah
Yeah.
is Luke. So let's say Hannah is like, no, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to work it from the inside. And June's like, I'm okay with this. Luke is going to be like, I am not okay with this.
Yeah.
And this is not going to be a thing that's happening. And he's just really wants to get her out. He may not understand. He might understand, but he might not understand. He hasn't gotten to really see Hannah
Yeah.
at all, right? So he might be in a situation where he's like, no, I'm not having that. There's no way. I don't care what you guys agreed on. That's my daughter and I'm getting her out of there. Or if June dies, Luke also could be in that situation where he's like, no, I'm not leaving her there.
I,
I'm going to go there's nothing that really stops him from going to get her.
I think what's so hard with Luke is just that
Luke has to die. I hate to say that.
no,
I
my,
know,
my
but like,
Luke, my
what?
Luke.
Okay, so then what stops Luke, right?
Okay, I don't have a clear answer to
I
that, but
don't
it's either
either.
it's got to
What
be.
do you guys think? If June dies or if Hannah stays in some sort of way, what does stop Luke besides death?
I think the only thing that would stop Luke besides death is that he would have to get some sort of indication that he actually is going to be able to help more further away, or he's found some semblance of peace when it comes to Hannah and realizing that there's not much he can do there. But I mean, that would be heartbreaking in itself that he has
Yeah.
to walk away with a sense of hopelessness. But he would have to walk away feeling like it's the right thing for him and it's the right thing for his family. It's just tough because we've seen a lot of Luke on this show for sure, but we
Mhm.
don't always see a lot of the story through Luke's point of view. We see a lot of it through June, where, she's had a lot of suffering, but Luke's also had a lot of suffering, and we
Mhm.
just view it differently because he's not been in Gilead. He's had
Mhm.
to kind of deal with like the guilt and the shame of being away, of not being able to help. And I think that's what puts his ending in a really complicated place. It's just, I can make a big list of people who I feel like deserve to die before The Handmaid's Tale is over, and obviously Serena's really high up that list. And Nick, you are rising really high. You're rising like it's an MVP platter for basketball players who are suddenly like scoring 50 points a game, and they're like, oh, they need to be the MVP. Luke, you need to be the you're gonna die person now. Luke is very low on the list for me.
Yeah, my hope is maybe there will actually get a scene with Luke and Hannah as well before this ends where she's able to say, Dad, your watch has ended and
Yeah.
now it's me. Or Dad, you and I together are going to find a way to do this. I'm going to work it on the inside, you're going to work it on the outside, and together we are going to do this. I think if the answer is just like Hannah being like, I don't know who you are. Like,
Yes.
I've grown up here. I don't know who you are. You're not my dad. Luke will never stop.
Yeah, that is feeling very much like the truth. And I think the biggest thing here in general with the end of this show, and we've talked about this before with other series finales, it's just that these are the hardest episodes ever to make because everybody's got their own expectation as to how certain stories should end. And then those people often get extremely and at times irrationally angry when the writers aren't catering to their specific interest. And there are finales like the Lost finale where I think that the reaction was a little bit overblown, where that ending certainly had its flaws, but people were acting like it's the worst thing they've ever seen, where it's like How I Met Your Mother is right there. The original Dexter is right there. Like, they have been really bad finales, but this is going to be a very hard show to land, especially when you also have another show to actively think about.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard show to land, but I feel like they're going to land it. I've seen your guys' comments, and there's lots of us that really are enjoying this season, but there are some people that are feeling like the season's kind of dragging, like, kind of let's get to it. Like, what's going on? Are they going to be able to land the plane? I feel really in my soul positive that they are going to land this plane. This is not going to be the ending to the Blacklist.
Oh no. Oh no. Okay, now
No, it's not. They're not going to do that. They're going to do us right. I feel it in my heart.
Okay, I'll just ask this question to close this out because I'm curious what people out there have to say. Do you guys have finales where you just decide to pretend like either a certain part of the episode did not exist or like an entire season of television did not exist? Like for me, Scrubs is a great example of this. I pretend that the end of Scrubs is when Zach Braff is watching that montage with the Peter Gabriel music playing and we're all just collectively sobbing. And then there's just not an entire season that comes after that. It's like, can we all just do that with certain shows? Is like that okay? Like the Blacklist finale, I just pretend it ended when Hisham gave that monologue in the hospital
I
bed.
know. And same with Blind Spot. That ending was terrible. Like
Yeah.
it just is. It is very hard to give. I mean, you're not going to ever give a finale that everybody likes. Like I
No.
like the Lost finale. I know lots of people are so mad about it's the worst.
Yeah.
Stop it. It's not. Like it may not be the ending that you guys wanted. That's fine. I
Yeah.
liked it all right. But Blacklist is one of the worst endings I've ever seen.
That one just made me irrationally angry because that was a
I'm still mad. It's been years.
what were you guys thinking sort of ending. We want to understand what people are thinking here. Don't make Luke a lumberjack in the final minutes, please. I beg of you. Okay, that is what we have to say when it comes to how will June's story end. But okay,
Yeah.
what do you guys think June's story is going to end like on The Handmaid's Tale? Be sure to let us know in the comments. Hit that subscribe button. Support us further by joining our Patreon. That link is in the description, and we are covering there exclusively Criminal Minds Evolution,
Yep.
Murderbot. Thank you guys. We'll see you here next time.